What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and we won a game! It is possible. We can win. We can score. Unbelievable. And against Brighton, with Marco Cucurella and Caicedo and Mudryk all in the field, somehow we managed to score and not concede a goal. Don't ask me how that happened. I'm going to throw Ugachukwu and Sanchez both on that pyre as well, even though they haven't typically been playing poorly recently, but sheesh, the way the both of them... Ugh, I'll get to it. But all in all, it was a bit of a lucky game for us because I feel like Brighton were not playing nearly as well as I've seen them in some of the past games they've had. But on the same side of the coin, we were also a bit unlucky in the sense that the refs, whether purposefully or unintentionally, screwed us over with Jackson's second goal being ruled out for offside, even though he was clearly on. And then Broya, possibly through on goal. Don't know if he would have finished or not, but I mean, he was through and he was onside because he was on our side of the pitch whenever the ball was played. So yeah, the AR in the second half for us on the attack was just terrible. So a little bit of luckiness on both sides, but thankfully we happen to be a little bit more lucky since Brighton were not finishing their chances at all today. It's not like they didn't have any. Our defense and our passing was not great today, but all in all, it was a weird game, but I wouldn't necessarily say it was bad. It just did not feel that same level of quality that we've seen in the past few games. So there is something to be said about that, and I think Pochettino made a joke after the West Ham match where one of the reporters was asking him, so you played well against Liverpool and you lost, or you drew. You played well against West Ham and you lost. And then he pipes in, he's like, "Oh, so you say we play bad, we lose, or we play bad, we win?" And today we were not at our best, but somehow we pulled out a win. Don't know how it happened. The overall play today, though, it just did not feel as clean. The quality was just a little off. The touches, the passes were off. It felt a little bit slower as well in the energy department. So, yeah, I don't know. It was also a bit of a weird lineup. I mean, first of all, you got Cucurella on the right side. So, while it's really not an improvement on Gusto or necessarily a what's the opposite of improvement? I don't know. Words are not coming to me right now. But he's not necessarily better or worse than Gusto. He's about on the same level. I've talked about in the last video. But it's weird to have him on the right side, though, because I feel like he's not good on the left side, so he's probably going to be even worse on his not-so-natural side. And it was about the same, I guess, I would say. But you've got the two in the midfield now with Caicedo and Ugachukwu. And it felt like it was kind of Mudryk, Maatsen, and Palmer, although sometimes, that would switch around a little bit. Sometimes Maatsen would show up on the left side, and then sometimes Palmer would show up on the right. And it was just sort of weirdly flowing around, but it didn't feel like because I've seen that before. I've seen it before where you have the 3 or 4 up front, and they don't necessarily have like one in the middle, one out left, one out right, and then one up top. They can sometimes interchange. I think the best was whenever Tata Martino was here at Atlanta United. That flowing front 3 or 4, they typically would interchange how they were set up. Sometimes Martinez would drop in deep with Almiron coming a little bit more up front. Sometimes Almiron would drift out left, and then somebody would cut inside. It changed up a little bit, but it felt like it was all together. It felt like there was a togetherness and a sense of, I know what you're doing, so now I'm going to adjust based on what you're doing. The way it was set up today, I didn't really see any sort of pattern. It just sort of felt like people were sort of following where the ball went, and then if somebody ended up over here, there was somebody else over there already, and then they were like, oh, well, crap, I better get out of your position that you're taking up right now. And then it didn't feel clean. It didn't feel planned. It felt like Pochettino just sort of threw the guys out there and said, just do whatever. And it looked that way. I'm sure he didn't do that, but yeah, it did not look that organized up front. And for a lot of the match, you could tell. In the second half, it felt like we finally started to find a bit of a footing. It felt like they stayed a little bit more in their position. I didn't really see Palmer coming out of the middle too often. That's typically where he was, and Mudryk was out left, and Maatsen stayed out right most of the time. So it felt like there was a lot more structure in the second half, which is why I felt like we created some better chances. So I don't really know why that happened, but it definitely felt like that sort of unorganized, chaos, but it should be organized chaos. It felt like it wasn't really doing much for us in the first half, and Brighton definitely felt like they were the better team, even though possession wise it probably showed about half and half. They were creating the better chances. They were being the more dominant going forward. A lot of our possession was just sort of knocking it around until eventually we just sent it long and gave the ball away, or sometimes gave the ball away in the back. So a bit of a weird game. Lucky, I think, to come out with a win, but thankful because even though it's the Carabao Cup and it's not one of the more important competitions, it's still a trophy and it's still a chance at Europe. So it's something, considering I don't think we're going to be anywhere near the European spots this season. As far as individuals are concerned, Sanchez today had a howler of a game. So many just bad passes, and I remember this being a thing in a couple of the first games, I think, where it just felt like his passes were not that good. It felt like he wasn't really connecting. Today felt 10 times that first match, though, where not only did he give the ball away in a very dangerous position, but most of his long balls were well out of bounds, not finding their target, overhit, right to a defender. It felt like there was no sense of what he was trying to do with the ball. It was just, oh, I got to get it out of here. Kick it. Oh, crap. It went to nobody. It wasn't good enough. Shot stopping wise, he still did well today, which is good. I'm glad he's doing that part of it well, but because of how much possession we keep, and especially the fact that apparently Pochettino wants to build out of the back, I don't trust Sanchez with his feet. I don't trust him enough to be like, yes, let's play out of the back, because at some point we're probably going to pass it to him. And I know 70% of the time, at least, that ball's not going to be ours if he touches it. So, yeah, it's not good enough in that sense, but at least he's making the saves right now. That's what we really need from him. So, take from it what you can, I guess. In the back line, Cucurella, like I said, I mean, he's Cucurella. He is not good. He definitely not worth the 50 million. Probably not even worth 10 million. And yeah, I mean, most of Brighton's best attacks came down our right side, because you get one-on-one with Cucurella, there's a very good chance that you're going to beat him and have a chance to send the ball in. Honestly, I was kind of surprised that they took Matoma out so early on in the second half, because I felt like he was their most dangerous player, because he kept taking on Cucurella and creating some good chances. It's just the people in the middle were not getting the job done. So very odd that he did that, but I mean, it helped us a little bit. João Pedro, he still created a couple chances beating Cucurella, but not quite as many as a player like Matoma does. But yeah, just not. I mean, it's Cucurella. What do you want me to say? I've already talked about him enough. He works hard, but God, he's just a terrible player. His touch is awful. His passing's bad. His defensive positioning is the worst, and his one-on-one is probably the worst in the whole Premier League. So maybe Maguire has him beat. Who knows? In the middle, Disasi had probably his worst game in a Chelsea shirt. He's been okay so far. He's had his good games. He's had his rough games. Today he was just bad. A lot of bad positioning, a lot of bad passes. Had created probably one of the best chances for Brighton with a terrible headed clearance in the second half that Pedro put just over. So it was just not at all. He's shown glimpses of like, okay, maybe he'll be a good signing. He's a bit older than the rest of the players we brought in, so not much, but mid-20s is older than early 20s. So maybe he'll be kind of the leading force going forward. And he's had those moments where you're thinking, okay, maybe he can be a great defender for us. But today just showed there's too many gaps in his game, and when he's put under high pressure, he can't handle it. So he's either got to grow or he's just not going to be good enough. Colwill on the left side, I mean, did okay, did fine. Defensively, he looked okay. On the ball, he looked fine enough. Nothing fantastic and a couple of scary giveaways, but I mean, he's coming along perfectly fine for where he should be in his career right now as a defender. So I think if he keeps getting time and you keep working him with players like Silva, I think he's going to grow and really find that footing in the game that we need him to. So I'm glad that Pochettino's given him a chance and really letting him flourish, because I think every game he gets a little bit stronger. He's still not the finished product. He still has gaps, but I think he's getting better each game. So, and then on the left side, Chilwell comes back in, and not his typical performance. Like, he was okay. He wasn't phenomenal. but we kind of needed him to be phenomenal today because again we need that good attacking talent on the left side because Colwill just hasn't been doing that very well, and I'd prefer that Chilwell's out there and Colwill's dropped in the back into the to center. So I wanted him to really go out there and show like, no, this position, this left back position, it's mine, and I'm taking it and I'm keeping it. But unfortunately, I just don't think he really showed that much today. He just kind of went out there and did his job decently enough, but I really don't see what he brought that Colwill could not also bring today. So a little frustrating there, but at least he did a job fine enough, unlike a certain other player that we brought in for a crap ton of money and is just constantly showing why he's not even close to worth that amount. Yeah, Caicedo is just, every game, it just gets worse. You know, his valuation in the first game was already like 30 million based on his early on performance, and every game it just drops. Every game I think, God, now he's down to like 20 million. Now he's down to 15. Now he's down to 10. After today, I mean, you put him up against his former club, you would think, okay, he knows how to play against his former club. Surely he'll do well, and he didn't. He gave the ball away too easily, gave Brighton one of their best chances that thankfully they didn't convert. But yeah, it's just he's weak, he's slow, his passing is not that good. Why is he here? Why did we spend this much money for him? Bowley, why are you an idiot? Why can't you, trust somebody who has a brain? Since clearly you do not. Granted, I don't know if Bowley's the one that decided to bring him in for that much, but it definitely feels like he's got a hand in the pot as far as what our transfer decisions are. And every one has just felt pointless. And that one especially, it feels like, let's just throw money at this guy because we need a defensive midfielder, and we brought in somebody who's, I mean, I don't think he fits into any of the top six watching him play for us. So Ugochukwu on the other side of the midfield, though, I don't know what happened. Against Bournemouth, he looked phenomenal. He looked strong. He looked fast. Looked like he was able to hold his own lying deeper. Against Villa in the weekend, came on, looked a little shaky, but kind of grew into the game, got a little bit better. Today, he was, a lot of bad giveaways early on, a lot of getting caught in possession. Just, I didn't see much of anything from him today. Like, he went from looking like he was going to be the one to really drive our midfield forward going into the future. And now I'm thinking, my God, like, did we pick up another Bakayoko? Because, holy crap, it was bad. It was really, really bad. And I hope today was just a one-off performance and not the last two performances were the one-offs. So we'll see. But, yeah, today I would say he was probably the worst player on the pitch, followed closely by Caicedo, then Cucurella, and then the next player we'll talk about, Mudryk. Because, yeah, he's just not worth it. He's not worth it. I mean, he has a lot of potential. I'll give him that. He's got a lot of pace. He looks like he can grow into a fantastic player, but he's got to want it. He's got to work for it, and I just don't see him doing it. He gives you one good thing every, 30 minutes. That's not enough. For 100 million, that's not enough. You have to be constantly performing, constantly giving us something. And it's like, he'll have that one great run down the left side. He'll take on a defender. He'll do something nice. He'll have a nice pass. And then for the next 20 minutes, it's get the ball out to him, and he gets it poked off of him. Get the ball out to him, he passes backwards. Get the ball out to him, he takes on the defender, and the defender easily knocks him off the ball and takes it away. It's like he goes from phenomenal player, and then he's done. He's done. Oh, he's had phenomenal play, and he's done. It's too much of that, and I'm just getting sick of it. I'm getting sick of watching 20 minutes of absolutely nothing, absolutely terrible player, and then he has one great moment, and people are just like, oh, Mudryk, I can't wait to see more of him. No, you can't. It's like Barkley. You have that one moment that gets on the highlight reel, and people are like, what a phenomenal player. And you watch the full 90 minutes, they don't do anything for most of the game. I can't stand players like that don't give you anything and then suddenly have one or two moments of good play, which, honestly, if those one or two moments of good play don't lead to a goal, then it's kind of hard to say that that's even worth it. With somebody like, I'm trying to remember, Because there have been a couple players in the past that they'll give you 1 or 2 moments of brilliance, but those 1 or 2 moments typically lead to a goal. They'll turn it on and then boom, an assist or a goal happens. And you're just like, see, that's why. I think Hazard is a good example. Hazard, he was here. Obviously, he was a lot more involved in 1 or 2 moments every now and then. It was normally 1 or 2 moments every 10 minutes. But still, you look at him throughout the game, and there are moments where it feels like he's just sort of walking around. He's out there, but he's not giving us anything. He had those games. But those few moments where he did turn it on, those few moments where suddenly he's on the ball and he's making things happen for about 5 to 10 minutes, we're scoring or we're creating great chances that are just missing. It's not Mudryk where you get 30 seconds of, oh, that was fantastic, and then you've got all this time where he's doing nothing. So I know that was a bit of a rant. I know I went on a bit of a little bit of a tangent, but I just want to make sure I got that thought out. Like, that's why I'm not a fan of Mudryk right now, and that's why I don't really want to see more of him. I just feel like he's not what we need right now, and he's not giving us enough. In the middle, Palmer, started the first half a little shaky, a little slow, didn't feel like he was up to the pace of the game, but second half I thought he really stepped up. Obviously he got the assist and should have had a second one for the goal that was ruled offside. But yeah, he started to really feel like he was getting into that number 10 position, which is a player that we've needed. I think I talked about in the last review actually how we have Jackson, who is a good striker, but we need a number 10 behind him to really fill that space that he can take. What am I trying to say? He can fill the space that Jackson creates, with his movement, with how well he does at getting runs off a defender and opening up the space in the middle. We don't have somebody that's sitting in there. We had 3 midfielders sitting deeper. So nobody is taking up that space now that Jackson opened up with his runs. Palmer did that a bit today. And not only that, but he also did well to get on the ball and then try to find Jackson through. So he's doing that number 10 role pretty well today. I don't know if we'll see more of that, but I kind of prefer that because I just don't feel like the 4-3-3 is really doing much for us. We don't have anybody in behind Jackson in that formation. So hopefully Pochettino maybe sees that, maybe sees the potential. We'll see. But yeah, I thought Palmer, though, his second half today definitely puts him at man of the match for me. And then Maatsen on the right side, I thought he was okay. Nothing phenomenal. Kind of similar to Chilwell. He needed a good performance to really throw his hat into the ring and say, hey, I deserve a chance to start a bit more, especially, again, with how Mudryk's been performing. I think Maatsen does deserve a chance to possibly take that role for Mudryk. But I didn't see enough from him today to go, yes, see, this is why we need him out there. It was decent. It was okay. It wasn't much of anything. But wasn't terrible. He wasn't one of our worst players. Jackson, glad he got a goal today. There are definitely some moments still where I feel like he's got to do a bit more. He's got to do a bit better with his awareness, and just there's still moments where it feels like he has the ability to really run and really go, and I feel like he doesn't really push himself at some moments. Now, granted, I know you're not supposed to just bust it all the time because then you'll kill yourself and you'll probably injure something trying to do that. But there are a couple times where it feels like there's a chance for him to turn it on and really put some pressure that could potentially lead to a chance, but he doesn't take those moments. He will at times in the moments where it feels like, okay, why did you do that? We don't really need you going right now because nobody else is going with you. But in the moments where there are other people up there, or maybe he's close enough where it feels like he should be aware, the one moment in particular that I'm thinking of, he goes up for a header with a defender and doesn't really win it. Like, it's kind of a 50-50. It bobbles in the air. Maatsen puts pressure on the defender. Defender takes a bad touch, and now it's sort of in space. Now, Jackson, he's got the beat of, I think it was Van Heck was the defender closest to it as well as him. He's already got the speed beat for Van Heck. Problem is as soon as he lost out on the header, as soon as he didn't win it and flick it on, he turned off. Van Heck did not. So as soon as the ball falls, they're about the same distance from it. Jackson should be beating him there with his pace. But Van Heck is turned on, he's not, so Van Heck wins it. And he manages to get it away and then get it back down the field for Brighton. Another moment is whenever Jackson is through and he's in behind, and instead of taking it across the defender, he takes another touch that takes him a little bit wider, and then he tries to cut it back across, and the keeper makes a save with his foot. And on top of that, if he did manage to get a little bit past the defender or the goalkeeper's foot, the defender that he didn't try to get inside of now is sliding in to block that shot. So it's those little moments of awareness where, one, he's got to be aware that, hey, the play's not dead yet. You didn't necessarily win the header, but it's still in your general vicinity. So be aware, be turned on, so that whenever the defender does make that bad touch, and you can possibly get there before the other defender that's there, you have that moment. And then the awareness of whenever you're going through on goal, you've got to make sure that you're setting yourself up for the shot. And it doesn't feel like he does that very well. Again, in that moment, you got to cut across the defender. Not only are you now taking the defender out of the play so he can't slide in and make a blocking challenge, but also if you take it inside, that opens up your angles so much more. Rather than taking it further down the line, now the angle's getting smaller and smaller as the keeper's making himself big. So it's those little moments. I know it's more of nitpicks, but because of how we've struggled in front of goal recently, I really feel like he's got to start figuring those moments out. Or if Broya can do it, that would be great too. Because we need a striker that can score those goals, that can win the ball in those moments and really affect the play going forward. Because I do feel like that's kind of what we're lacking right now. I mean, we're lacking a little bit outside of that as well. But that is one of the big things I feel like could really spur the rest of the team whenever we get into the attacking third. As far as the subs that came on, first two were Fernandez and Gallagher? I think it was Gallagher. No, wait. There's somebody that came on before that. For Mudryk. Sterling. Sterling came on for Mudryk. Didn't do anything. I hardly remember him being out there. Then Fernandez and Gallagher came on for Maatsen and I think Palmer. And that it just kind of felt like a more defensive switch because now you've brought in a more midfield player in Fernandez, even though he does typically play further up the field now for whatever reason. And then Gallagher, you just got somebody who can run around up top, even though he's a bit more confined to the wings. And then Broya came on late for Jackson. And I don't know, all four of the subs that came on, it didn't really feel like they affected much of anything. Broya did okay, Gallagher did okay, Fernandez was kind of hit or miss in the midfield, and then, like I said, Sterling was just non-existent. So it didn't really feel like those subs affected the play in the way they should have. So I was a little disappointed with Pochettino's decisions there because it felt like we were not really losing the game at that point, not really, Brighton was not taking control or anything, but it kind of felt like it was a chance, especially after Jackson's second goal was ruled out incorrectly for offside. It felt like a chance to take control of the game and go, all right, let's go at them. They're a little mentally weak. We're taking it to them. We're really having some chances come through. So let's try to put 2, maybe 3 in on them. And not only would that help us keep in control of the game to the point where, those final few moments where, March gets a free header at the back post or Pedro gets an easy volley from Disasi's poor header, those moments don't feel nearly as nervy if we've put 2 or 3 in on them. But instead, it kind of felt like once Fernandez and Gallagher came on, it was kind of, all right, sit in a little bit, maybe counter on them if we have the chance, but let's hold on to this 1-goal lead. And we're too error prone to try to hold on to a 1-goal lead right now. There's too many moments of lapses in concentration that lead to those chances that we saw. I just feel like it wasn't a good decision for Pochettino. So all in all, I mean, it's a win, which is good. We're through to the next round, which is also good. But there still are concerns there that don't necessarily have me feeling like we're suddenly about to go on a tear. But I'm hoping maybe a little bit of a confidence boost. Jackson getting a second goal now. Hopefully that means he'll start to get a little bit more confidence in himself, of course, as he's about to miss the next match because of yellow card accumulation. But I'm hoping maybe that will spur him on a little bit. And again, if Pochettino can look at some of what went right in this game, like Palmer being his attacking mid, maybe that will help us in the next few games. And maybe we will start to pick up some points and be a bit more mid-table instead of bottom of the table. But With all that being said, though, that's it for me. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on the game today? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Chelsea reviews, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.